Yo, people of the universe. This is the part 2 of our employee data entry form tutorial. And so we're done with creating the form. We are now going to write the code. And first is we will be declaring global variable. So let's go ahead, open our VBA editor by going to developer tab and click Visual Basic icon, or on your keyboard press Alt F11 key for the shortcut. And then so the active window must be the sheet 4, or in my end or in your end it's going to be the emp form. So just double click for that to be activated. Now let's put a comment here. Declare global variable. Now I'm just gonna paste the code and explain to you what are those. So in declaring global variable, we will be using public and then the name of the variable and what it stands for, or the type of that variable. So sh form as worksheet, database as worksheet, so as the sheet e form. And then for the variant, which are fname, lname, age, gender, post, my array, and eid, these are the, basically it will represent the values that the user will be entering in the, or in each text field that we have in our form. And row as string, employee status as string, and e-range as range. So next, let's proceed on writing the code for adding the data from the form to our database. And I've already written the code. So for every new function, always start with sub and the title. And when you hit enter, it's gonna end with and sub automatically. So after writing the sub, let's go ahead and add a comment just for us or other users not or to know what's the purpose of the code. And then so these SHE form and SHD base are one of the global variables that we set earlier, and we're gonna set them to be equal to the name of our worksheets. So for the SHE form, it's gonna be equal to our EMP form, which is the name of our sheet, and then the SHD base is equal to our database sheet. And put in this code as well, application dot screen updating false. And this is for us to, like, when we run the code, the screen is not gonna be like blink when it updates, something like that. And then so these line of codes here, we are setting the value of our text fields to, or saving the values of our text fields to the variables that we have declared here at the top. So fname for first name, so it's going to be the value of cell D7, this one. And for the last name, D8HD, D9 gender, D10 post, D11. And then we also have added a code here, if and if, uh, for as a data validation for our users to not, I mean, for the data not to be saved, even if one of the required fields are empty. So it will check first all the fields that we have in our form if it is not empty. So if is empty first name, then do something else. If last name is empty, do something, and so on. So if first name is empty, it will say first name is empty on cell C18, which is here. So if we try, it would say first name is empty. So let's just delete for a moment. And then else, so it means that if those fields are not empty, so delete any error message on cell C18 and then proceed on adding the data to our database. So here we will find the next empty row. So the sheet DBase, B and rows that count and so on. So it means that in column B on our database sheet, find the next or the last row with data. So here in our case, it's going to be row 11 plus 1. So it means that we will be adding the data to row 12, which is the next empty row. And for our employee ID, it's automatically created. And it's going to be text E00. If it's a text, it should have a quotation marks at the beginning and end, and concatenate with the L row value. So we will need to use an ampersand. And then for the employee status, which is in column G, so it's a variable as well, text equals active. And then for the variables or values that we have stored in our variables, set them as an array. So it's going to be my array equals array, open and close parenthesis, then our variables. So notice that it is sorted in a way that matches our column headers. So EID, first name, last name, age, gender, and position. And then so first, so in our database, so from cell A and last row, so it's, I mean L row value, so it's A12 up to column F12, which is the L row. Set the value to my array, which is this. And then the cell G12, set the value to our EMP status, which is active. And then display message box. So if the data has been recorded successfully, display a message box. And then delete field values. So once it's successfully recorded, delete all values from cell D7 to cell D11. And of course, our if statement should end with an end if code. And the application that's screen updating false should end with application that's screen updating true. And then our sub should end with end sub. And then click save. Save your work as well. And So from your add button, right click and look for assign macro. Choose for the sheet for add EMP details and click OK. Then let's try to enter a new employee data. So it says that employee recorded successfully. And let's confirm. Let's check the database sheet. And there you go. Next is the code for retrieving employee record. So that is if I enter an employee ID here and hit enter in my keyboard, it should show the data for that employee ID. So let's go back to our VBA editor. So I have written the code. So first is the sub find EMP details. And again, let's set the SHE form and SH database to the names of our sheet. And let's store the value of cell D5, which is the employee ID field, to our variable EID. And then for the set E range, so this will be equal to sheet D base the dot range A dot find EID look at equals Excel part. So this is that find is basically the control F when we are looking for a text or string. So look for the EID in our database sheet column A. And then so if not E range is nothing, then do something else, do something, and if. So it means that if E range is not nothing, meaning it's not empty, we find that EID, get the row. So that's the range, E range that address that row. And we're going to save that to our variable row underscore. And for example, for E002, so it's in row 2. So row underscore value should be 2. And then here sheet or SHE form that range D7 to D11 that value. So the value of this range should be the here you see worksheet function transpose. So that's a transpose function in Excel. And transpose the value of sheet D base range B row underscore. So that's row B, range B2 up to F2. So transpose the value of that range to EMP form range D7 to D11. And then else if there's no record for that EID, it will display no records found for the given EID. So let's try 00 E0013 and hit enter. So it says no records found for the given EID because we don't have E0013 yet. And then for that, for this code to run when we hit enter in our keyboard, or if we simply move the mouse outside this outside cell D5, it will run automatically using this code here. So private sub worksheet and so on. So it says here that if the value of cell D5 changes, call find EMP details function. If ever that the range D5 is empty, just do nothing or ignore the change. And there, click save. And from your workbook, save as well, Control S. Okay, so we're done with creating the form and writing the code for the global variables, adding new data, and retrieving employee record. So let's go with the code for updating employee record. So on your VBA editor, I have written the code here. So it's the sub update EMP details. And it's almost the same code as the find the EMP details and add data. So again, we have here the application screen updating, and then store the values of these cells to our variables, and also the EID, and then the set eRange that find, which is the Control F, and so the if not eRange, so meaning if we found the EID in database sheet column A, get the row, store it under row underscore variable. And then we also have a data validation here. So if the employee ID is empty, first name, and so on. And else, delete any error message in C18, cell C18, and then store the variables in an array. And so in the database sheet, range A and the row in which the EID is located, for example, E002. So E002 is in row 2. So this is going to be A2. So A and row number and F row number. So A2 to F2, that value. So the value of that range, set it to my array, which is the EID, F name, first name, last name, age, gender, and post. And then once it's successfully updated, display a message box, employee updated successfully, and delete the previous entry in the form. So if not eRange, else, meaning there's no record for that EID, so display a message saying no records found for the given EID, and delete the entry of the user to the form. And of course, we're going to end the if statement with an end if, and so as application dot screen updating with application dot screen updating equals true. So this part here, no records found. Like for example, so I retrieve E002 employee ID, and then I will not do any changes here. For example, for the E002 data, and I will enter E0013 and hit enter. So it should say no records found. Let me just click save. So it should so assign the right function or macro. So again, E0013. Click OK. And for example, we will, let's go ahead and do that. Let's copy this line of code here so that if there are previous entries here and the user suddenly changed employee ID, it will delete the previous entry. And click save. So again, E0013, enter. No records found, and it should clear. And let's delete. Let's just say do nothing, click save. So next is the code for deleting or setting the employee status to inactive. And for deleting the employee, we don't technically delete the record for that employee. We're just gonna set the status of that employee to inactive. Because if we delete, like for example, delete the row, it's gonna mess up the employee ID since it is based on the last row. So remember, it's E00 concatenate with the last row variable or L row variable, which is the number of the next empty row. So here is the code for that. So again, let's set the worksheets and application screen updating and store the value to the EID or employee ID to EID variable. And then again, control F, and if not, range, and then get the row number where the EID is located. And then there's again there's a data validation again. So if the EID is empty, show an error message, else delete the error message and set the EMP status to inactive instead of active. And so that's going to be on database range or column G in the row in which the EID is located, and set the value to inactive and display a message which would say employee deleted successfully, and then delete previous entry in the form. And else if there's no EID, again message is no records found for the given EID, and click save and assign macro. So let's try E002 and delete. And let's confirm that E002 status is set to inactive. There you go. And lastly, delete form entry. So that is simply here, same code. So again, set the worksheet, and that is, we have a clear form here because, for example, we enter E004 employee, and then we decided we're not gonna do any changes like update or delete, and we need to delete or clear the form. So you can right click, assign macro, clear form, okay. And yeah, I'm just gonna clear the entry on the form. So don't forget to save your work. Basically, that's it. We're done. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and follow for more. Bye bye.